All right, what's up, my brothers from another mother? Got a video topic request here on the Reach.me platform from a subscriber, and he's got some questions about, well, the next chapter in his life. He's a married guy. Let me just bring this over here first. He's a married guy for the last 18 months, but 4 months into his marriage, his mother passed away, so he's reevaluating some components of his life. I can't stand long run-on sentences. It's one of my pet peeves, so I just copied and pasted over the exact same message. You kind of broke it up some paragraphs and makes it a little cleaner to rip through. So he says he's 32, got married 18 months ago. About 4 months into the marriage, mother passed away after fighting cancer for 9 years. After his mother's death, he started to notice a change in the way that he wants to live his life. I've become more selfish and much less willing to do things that I don't want to do. I've adopted the mentality that you only get one shot at this. The clock is ticking, so if you want to do, so do what you want to do and get what you want out of this life. That's not entirely uncommon. So two things there. I might have mentioned this before on the channel, maybe in a live broadcast, but I had a conversation with Sean Smith a few months ago. He's a clinical psychologist that wrote The Tactical Guide to Women. It's a book that I've recommended. It's always in the description of all my videos if you haven't checked it out. We were talking about when your safe world theory collapses on itself. It can create conditions where you reevaluate your life and you review how you live it and where you go forward. Quite often there's a safe feeling like, maybe our family members, our mom or dad is bulletproof and they're going to last for a long time. They just don't. They get slammed with some kind of disease and, they're taken away from us. And that can shatter your belief system. It can shatter your worldview and, the safe world that you think that you live in, at which point you reevaluate what it is that you're doing and where you're going, which is pretty normal. The other thing that I want to add to that is you mentioned that you became more selfish and you've decided to kind of like live more, for yourself sort of thing. And I've got a theory on that, and I've mentioned it a few times on the channel. I don't know if I've mentioned it recently in the last number of months or so, but essentially, there's only so many number of grains of sand, let's say, in that hourglass, and as it falls through, they end. It is a hard end, and I'm done. Okay, my heart stops beating. It's over. If there's some afterlife or pearly gate or some opt-in that I can take to some ghost world or something cool, maybe that's available. Who knows? But as far as I'm concerned, this is the only life I get. I want to live it, and that's been my philosophy on life for quite a few years now. That awakening that you had doesn't surprise me that you've become selfish in that sense, and that you want to get what you want out of life. Let's keep going through here. So during the time, a noticeable disconnect has occurred between his wife. My wife has had a strong desire to have children. For me, that represents a risk or threat to the freedom that he wants to have out of life. Now you didn't mention it in here, but I don't know if you got married with the intent to have kids and you've updated that belief or not. It's always way more helpful, guys, if you give me as much information or as much useful information as possible when you make these requests. Anyway, I've recently had thoughts of divorce, and I've discussed my lack of desire to have children and changing my view on how I really want to live my life. It's caused some substantial heartache for my wife and difficult times in our marriage. Part of me feels the right thing to do is to get a divorce and allow my wife to find somebody else. Another part of me feels guilty for changing my mind and altering my vision of what I want out of life. I want to hit on that guilt thing. So the two most negative emotions humans can feel are resentment and guilt. Resentment is towards somebody else. Usually guilt is towards ourselves. You're feeling guilty for updating your belief system. Your belief system is updated as a result of your worldview getting new information. You saw what happened to your mom. She died of cancer. You've decided that, you don't want to live a certain way and you want to live a different way based on this new information. That's, in my opinion, that's totally fine. That's completely normal to have a brand new belief. And, another thing that I should mention about marriage is lifelong monogamy does not characterize the mating habits of human beings. It never has. It never will. For millions of years, it's never been that. We don't mate once with one person and stay with them for the rest of our lives. So, the fact that you take vows, forever and ever until death do us part in sickness and health and blah, 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 and all that sort of thing. If you've updated your beliefs, I think being honest about it is totally fine. Because of certain, aspects of the sexual marketplace, it's not that uncommon for women to leave men. In fact, 7 or 8 out of 10 of marriage or divorces are initiated by women. So, don't feel guilty for having feelings that you want to end the marriage. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, if I'm being perfectly honest about my view on that. Anyway, wants a view. I think the idea of marriage is difficult for me to buy into at this part. Marriage seems to be resistant to change for both individuals, and both parties are expected to stay who they were when they entered the. No, I'm going to disagree with that. When they enter the relationship or change together, which is very difficult. Let me go back here. Both parties are expected to stay who they were when they entered the relationship. I think that is more of a like Disney-esque egalitarian social programming that we've received as men. We're told to suck it up, be a man, do the right thing, man up, get married, and just kind of like plow through for the rest of your life. It's not guys that are initiating divorces, for the most part. Again, 7 or 8 out of 10 is initiated by women, and that's through a lot of discontent and unhappiness that they deem, and they want to exercise a right to get divorced. So you're not obligated to be the same person that you were 18 months ago or 18 years ago or 18 years in the future. The person that I am today at almost 45 years old is completely different from who I was before I got married, was completely different from who I was after I got divorced, was completely different from who I was when I got engaged to my ex-wife. People change, and you're going to update your beliefs based on new inputs, based on new information you receive, and new worldviews that you create for yourselves based on those beliefs. So, marriage seems, yes, which is very difficult, of course. For big changes, decisions, I like this. I often try to justify my thoughts, feelings, and actions. I'm struggling to do that with this decision. Any advice on the thought process, literature on the topic, or just general guidance? I've seen a lot of your talks on divorce and interrelationships, but have not come across one to tell you how to tell your significant other you want a divorce, or how to decide if divorce is the right decision. Thanks for your response. There was a book that I read, I'll mention, I can't remember the author's name. It was, let me see if I can find it actually, hold on. You guys are in luck, I have it handy. It's called Too Good to Leave, Too Bad to Stay, and the author's name is Mira Kirschenbaum. This book was recommended to me when I was going through my should I get divorced stage. And it's kind of like a self-guided tour of evaluating your marriage and whether or not it's too good to stay, or what is it? Too good to leave and too bad to stay. So I would recommend reading that. I got some value out of this. It's not a long read. I haven't recommended this book before, and I don't think I'll probably recommend it again, but for your specific scenario and what you're looking at, I think it's probably something worth evaluating. The other thing is you've just recently updated your belief system. You just recently lost your mom. I wouldn't make any rash moves right now. I wouldn't commit to any kids right now either. You've got to probably work on some of your own shit. It might be worth your while, going to talk to somebody, talking to a clinical psychologist about reevaluating yourself and where you want to be. And if you choose or decide that it's something you want to end, or you're over the marriage, or it's done, why would you commit to lifelong lockdown with your wife and having kids if it's something you don't want? I think being honest about it right now at least gives you the opportunity to move on, and 2, gives her the opportunity to find somebody else that has a strong desire to have kids. You didn't mention it in your question, but did you have a strong desire to have kids before you got married? And I'd ask myself, well, why did that change after your mom died? Kids are a big commitment. They're going to take a lot of work. They're going to, it's a lifelong commitment. It just doesn't end at 18 or 20 or, whatever some people think that it ends at. Parents often parent well into their kids' elder years. I mean, there's always some involvement somewhere along the way, even if you've done a great job. So, back to your original point. Well, one of the things that is a key point to understand from a family law perspective and a divorce law angle is you don't have kids. Exiting right now would be, I'm going to use the phrase or the term incredibly easy, but it's not going to be incredibly easy, but it's going to be incredibly easier than getting divorced when you have 2 or 3 kids that are small, and you've got to go through the divorce machine as it operates in the Western world. I don't know where you live, but I'm assuming based on your English, you're probably in North America somewhere. So, kind of sit with it for a bit. You're talking about trying to justify your thoughts and feelings and actions. You're struggling with it, which is totally fine. Advice on the thought process, gave you that book. I'd encourage you maybe to talk to a clinical psychologist because you need to reconcile what happened with your mom. I don't have much other literature to recommend beyond that, But the general guidance that I'd basically have for you is kind of sit with it maybe for a little bit longer if you're unsure, if you're sitting on the fence. Things like this usually become pretty clear. At some point, it'll be like taking a frying pan to the forehead. It should be like a hell yes, that's what I need to do. It'll either be like hell yes, let's stay with her and have some kids because that's what I want, or hell yes, I want to whatever, unplug from this marriage, get a divorce, and travel the world, or whatever your ideas might have been. But yeah, that's my feedback on that. Don't have your name at the end of the request, but thank you, Anonymous, for the reach donation and the request for the question. I hope that the topic adds some value to all you guys out there watching these videos. You know, if you might be thinking or considering a same or similar type of scenario. Yeah, that's a really tough one, and it kind of requires some back and forth dialogue to get in a little further, maybe with some Q&A stuff. But that's my feedback on it, guys. If you have any feedback as you're watching this for this viewer, leave it below in the description. I'm going to send this to him immediately. This will be published on the channel slightly after, so you know you can keep an eye out for it. The other thing is, if you want to make requests for topics like this, it's just reach.me/Richard Cooper. Down in the bottom over here, I'll leave the link on where you can do it. And again, the biggest area that I'm spending most of my time on is content creation for my patrons. I deliver monthly live Q&As for them only, where we engage back and forth. We've got a private Facebook community where some great conversations are going on with gentlemen trying to become better versions of themselves, and also premium content that I just can't upload to YouTube because well, I've got to water down things a little bit when I talk, or let's put it that way. The stuff over there is more premium for guys only. Anyway, hope you enjoyed today's video. Give it a big smash with a thumbs up. Again, if you have any additional feedback, something that I might have missed, leave it in the comments below for this viewer. I know we're building a community here, and it helps everybody out when there's a lot of participation. Thanks for checking out today's video. See you guys later. Peace.